slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
This video is about marathon training for runners in their 40s, and I'm 47, so I totally understand the challenges that athletes that are training for this event are going to experience preparing for their races. If you've been away from the sport for many years like I have, it's even more of a challenge because it does sometimes take a little bit more time to recover from your workouts. Whereas, you know, like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I might be able to recover after a track workout in maybe like 24 hours, maybe 48 hours at the longest. But now I'm finding it varies from like 48 hours to 72 hours. And I'm fine with that. Okay. I still want to make sure that I'm, as a 47-year-old, training effectively to run a great marathon time. And I think again, the longer you build up, the more chances of success you're going to have versus if you give yourself a short build up for a marathon. When you're training in your 40s, it's not like you still can't run a very fast time. I mean, there's world-class athletes that are out there running world-class times in their 40s. In fact, the Masters world record for the marathon is 2:04:15 for the marathon. That's 4 minutes and 44 seconds a mile for 26.2 miles. Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia ran that time at the Valencia Marathon. He ran 2:04:19, and then he ran 2:04:15. I believe it was at London or Berlin that he ran the 2:04:15, so he improved it a few seconds. That's certainly not the norm. Bekele is one of the world's top runners. He's had multiple world records for several years. He's certainly an outlier, but there's other athletes that run great times in their 40s, okay? You can still run, if you're a male, you can still run in probably in the 2:20s, sub 3 hours. If you're a female, there's some females out there that can go, sub 2:30 in their 40s as well, okay? So we're in a sport where you can really do very well training for the marathon as a Masters runner and as you get older. But as you get older, obviously you have to pay more attention to your hydration. You have to pay more attention to your sleep. I'm just speaking from experience. I mean, I try to focus on 3 hard workouts per week. Usually between 2 and 3 hard workouts a week. The rest of my training throughout the week is easy recovery runs. And when I say easy, I focus on easy running. Okay. You see a lot of runners on Strava and on these other outlets that say like, yeah, I just went out for a nice and easy 15-miler at 6:30 mile pace, and they're like a 2:52 3-hour marathoner. That's still high-quality running, okay? And when I see athletes like Yuki Kawachi from Japan, who's a 2:07 marathoner, who does his easy runs at 8:03 mile pace or 5-kilometer pace, I see a difference in mentality, okay? Sure, Yuki running at 6:30 to 6:40 mile pace is still very easy running for him, but he chooses to run at slow, relaxed paces during his easy runs. So I think that's something as you train for a marathon in your 40s to keep in mind. If a 2:07 marathoner can run 8:03 mile pace or 5-kilometer pace for his easy runs, why can't we as 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, slow it down on those recovery days? Because again, to train hard anaerobically over and over again on a consistent basis over a several-month block of training, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, sometimes out to a year for some runners, especially in your 40s, you're going to have to pay attention to your recovery, okay? You have to pay attention to the other things that you're doing after the track workouts are done, after the tempo runs, the hill repetitions, the long runs are done. How much sleep are you getting? How much are you paying attention to your ferritin levels? Okay, I talked about that in other videos and on some live streams. A lot of runners are running very low on ferritin. It's a component of iron. If you run low, if you're running below 30 nanograms, your body's, your cellular activity and your cellular capacity to transport oxygen to your muscles and throughout your body is simply not there. Okay, so Dr. Joe Vigil, he always talks about you need to be at a minimum 30 nanograms or up to 120 nanograms for your ferritin scores. And the only way to really find that out is to get a blood test. Okay, and if you don't want to get a blood test, what Dr. Vigil says is to drink one 8-ounce glass of orange juice per day with 1 teaspoon of liquid ferrosol. That is liquid iron. He says you never want to take iron tablets because your body doesn't digest only digests about 20% of that tablet. And so when you take liquid ferrosol or liquid iron with the orange juice, you kind of mix that in with a 250 milligram tablet of vitamin C or higher. That's what he says. That liquid ferrosol goes directly to your bloodstream. Okay, so you absorb all that iron. And he says if you take what he calls his tonic, okay, and it's also approved by the U.S. Olympic Training Center and the U.S. Olympic Committee as well. But when you do that for about a month to a month and a half, he says, you'll get your ferritin levels back up to adequate optimal levels, and you'll start running stronger. Okay, we lose iron through our sweat. Females lose iron through menstruation. Also, you lose some iron when it's called foot strike hemolysis, where every time your foot strikes the ground, the red blood cells underneath your feet burst. So again, we're always running low. A lot of times we run low on ferritin or run low on iron and don't even know it. And so a lot of athletes have issues with fatigue. They feel overly fatigued. So if you're a marathon runner in your 40s, definitely start paying attention to that as well. I guarantee you, if you start paying attention to that and you implement that into your training, okay, in terms of your nutrition, I promise you're going to start feeling great. Because I got tested back in 2007. My ferritin levels were at 21 nanograms, far below the 30 nanograms that Dr. Vigil says the minimum should be. And I was running like crap. Okay, I had all the motivation and drive in the world, but I wasn't hitting my splits and workouts, had some problems in the races as well. And after I got my blood test, I started taking. At that time, I was taking an iron tablet with some orange juice. I didn't take the liquid ferrosol because this was back in 2007. I didn't see that video by Dr. Joe Vigil, which I'll leave below this video. I think what he says, it starts at about 1 hour and 16 minutes into the video, and it lasts out to around an hour and 18 minutes. So it's like a 2-minute section where he's talking about ferritin and the importance of maintaining high ferritin levels so that you can run at optimal levels. And again, if you're in hot and humid conditions, it's so much easier to run low on this, because again, you're sweating it out through the body as well. And again, if you're low on ferritin, it doesn't matter how much motivation and drive you are, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you're going to have a very hard time running at optimal levels. So definitely, if you're training for a marathon and you're in your 40s, definitely start paying attention to this. That's one of the greatest tips I can possibly share with all of you that are watching these videos. And again, a 6-month buildup is optimal. 5 to 6 months training for a marathon is the best way to go. You're giving yourself the maximum amount of time to really adapt to the stresses you're placing on your body. And again, as an older runner, as a master's runner, you don't get discouraged when you don't hit the splits as quickly as you want. Okay, again, it takes about 28 days for the body to adapt any stress you're placing on it. Okay, and this is in Dr. Joe Vigil's book, Road to the Top. He's one of the most world-renowned exercise physiologists. So usually when somebody at that level says something, I'm going to listen. Okay, so if you're having a hard time right now doing a 10-mile long run or 16-kilometer long run, give yourself 3 to 4 weeks out to around 28 days, closer to a month to adapt to that. Okay, you might need to do a 10-mile long run every week for the next 3 weeks, and then start working toward like 14 to 15. Adapt to that, and then extend it out to 17 to 22. Okay, so there's a gradual process in training for a marathon, especially in your 40s, because I'm finding it obviously is not quite the same as when I was in my 30s, when I ran my PR at 31, 2:19:35. I ran 2:26 when I was 35, and I ran 2:32 when I was 37. And then just I kind of transitioned from racing competitively and kind of retired from the sport and stayed consistent with just kind of jogging each day, but running 15 to 20 miles a week. Now I'm 47 years old, training for the Valencia Marathon. And after having spent over 10 years away from racing marathons, looking back, I wish I would have continued to train. I wish I would have continued to race after the 2013 California International Marathon, which was my last race that I ran. Because I see a lot of my friends and other athletes that I know or competed with over the years that have continued to race into their early 40s and doing very well. Running in below 2 hours and 30 minutes at age 44, 45 years old. Other athletes that I see that are breaking 3 hours in their 40s. So you can still run very fast. I mean, if you're at 5 hours right now and you're trying to get work down to 4 hours, you can still do this in your 40s. There's plenty of examples of athletes out there that have done it. So if they can do it, so can you. If you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to leave me a comment below. I'll definitely reach back out to you. Check out the resources below these videos as well as on RunDreamAchieve.com. They're definitely there to set you up for success, and I will talk to you all in the next video.